All right, Mark. Willie, how are you today, my friend? How is life in the fast lane with Mark Bare Naked Willie? Do we got the volume going? I mean, we got the rock and roll. You remember who was it? Is it the Grateful Dead or was it Social Distortion where you have them sitting in they sitting in the chair and you got the skull and and the music's blasting them in the face. That's what right before the show reminded me of you. Like, how do we get the music blasting in his face? So,
I
what's up, brother?
gotta, I gotta say thanks for your patience and diligence, Dave. I am wearing earbuds for the first time in my life, and I don't like them. I don't want a piece of carrot and garlic and cucumber and cauliflower in my ear, whatever this crap is. But hey, BS Friday Live, episode 61, brother.
6-1. Can you imagine at episode 61 on BS Friday? Who would have thought when we started this journey 61 episodes ago? I'm not even trying to do the math. Listen, and we're going strong. We're making a difference. There's people joining us. We're talking to people all over the world. We're working with people all over the world to bring new ideas, new thoughts to the market so everybody out there can share in the knowledge and in the information of how we build better. Love it. 2030 committed. See it in the ticker?
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Doug Farr, our 3-time presenter, 2030
Yeah.
committed. Yeah.
Listen,
Did you and Jennifer send your address to Doug to get those buttons?
we did.
All
I'm
right.
going to work on those cufflinks for Greg Ugaldi. I think Greg Ugaldi. I think it should be like a secret code. Do the cufflinks that he has, and so everybody knows what it is. You got to put your two arms together, and it says like PH or BS.
Yeah.
You're in the club.
Maybe we should get the brass knuckles version of NAHB and 2030 committed.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we can get NAHB to sponsor Burning Man or whatever, right? Or whatever wouldn't that be funny, huh?
That's a way to recruit talent, right? They build a city for a couple of days and then they unbuild it like it was never there. What better group to do that than the NAHB? Beautiful thinking.
Well, yeah, it is beautiful. So listen, Mark, I mean, we're here. We're live again on Friday. We have friends with a PH all over the world. So make sure you put a PH. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and
Twitch, brother. We're live on Twitch.
That's right, because that's where the cool people hang out, like Greg Ugaldi. He always joins us from Twitch. So today we're gonna have a fun show. Huh? We're gonna do a lot of fun today. We got somebody who's been a guest on the show off and on throughout the year and a half or so. He's made an appearance once or twice. He has a personality. He has building science knowledge. He has a bead on what the market is doing. I mean, a serious bead. In fact, some people are making mistakes because the market's so hot, in my opinion. But that's my humble opinion. And Mark, if he has time, he may show us some of the photos of what he sees going wrong when he's doing his thing out there.
Oh, man, when Joe opens up his phone, we were at a Cubs game one time, and Joe's like, hey, Mark, I want to show you this one thing. And 100,000 photos later, I think we actually found the one he was looking for. I mean, he just documents everything to the nth degree as a building inspector would.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so we're going to listen today from a building inspector, but it's just not any building inspector. This is a building inspector that takes building science to the next level when performing their building inspections. But first, I think we have a surprise somewhere in the fish tank.
So if you open the red door of truth right behind it, you'll find our guest from the 313, an eco achiever herself, the one and only Lindsay Elton.
Lindsay Elton in the house. Hey, are you related to?
I feel like I've let the red door of truth down because I didn't bring it today. So it's with us in spirit.
The red door of truth is always with us in spirit, and hopefully it's in a frame somewhere, right? Calculating some 50 pascals of power in and out.
sometimes even higher, going up to 75 and above. Yeah, when we're doing the multi-point or working on passive house projects.
Or a military, right? Our
Or
U.S.
military.
military
Yep.
tests to the 75
Yep.
Pascal level. So, hey, blow the fan in, blow the fan out, do it both ways and figure out where the leaks are. It's your number one tool in all of construction.
Super tool.
Blow the say that was almost a rhyme, Mark. You know, I have to do it. I have to look, I'm going to share, because a lot of people don't know what this red door of truth really is. So while we were talking just for fun, I found the red door of truth to share with everybody. Is that the red door of truth you're talking about, Mr. Mark?
It is. So that one is from RetroTech. That's one of the companies that makes it. Another one is referred to as the Minnesota blower door, but it's what's the actual name of Minnesota blower door, Lindsay?
TEC, the Energy Conservatory.
Yeah, yep. TEC, and then there's actually one more that's out there, but those are the two main brands, Dave. So this shroud, right, is configured to meet the opening. You select one opening, and then all the rest is closed, and then let it fly, right? Well, there's more than that, right? there's tubes, and there's a wonderful thing called a manometer. But hey, before we go too deep, Lindsay,
Yeah,
can you remind people who you are, Miss 313?
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name's Lindsay Alton, and it is so awesome to be with y'all today. I am the president and partner at Eco Achievers. We have offices. We just opened our Detroit office, as Mark mentioned, so representing the 303 or 313. Sorry, Colorado is the 303. Yes, we opened our Detroit office almost 2 years ago, actually. COVID has kind of slowed things down, but we're super excited to be here. And our headquarters is in Chicago. And we've just been super fortunate to have worked on a number of green building certifications. We do all the green building certifications from NGBS, as was mentioned earlier, to Passive House, LEED, Energy Star, Green Star, anything that you can imagine. And the blower door is like our choice tool of fun and magic. It is the ultimate door of truth, and it's through that that actually I was introduced to Joe, who is going to be headlining today. Back when I started my career, many moons ago, with the Chicago weatherization program called the Heat Weatherization Program. And we were both inspectors there. We were leading a small team of weatherization crews. And we were kind of the first line of defense, or the first line of attack, I guess I would say, identifying where all of the leaks were happening with our blower door and giving the work orders, and then the crews would come in. It was a super cool program, really beneficial for a lot of communities and a lot of neighbors and neighborhoods. And then I guess through the years, it's been really cool to just continue the relationship with Joe, both as a friend and as a colleague. We've shared many a beer or two and food, and have talked on all different things relating to building science. And I mean, as anyone knows with Joe, those conversations are not usually short conversations, because Joe knows a lot and he's just a super great guy. We've been, we co-refer each other. So just really excited to be supporting him and seeing him today. So.
Ooh, did you say you collaborate with somebody else in the industry?
I know.
There's a novel idea. Let's work together. That's a horrible idea. Why would we want to work together to be better? Right. So, Lindsay, are you in any shape or form related to Elton John?
Unfortunately not, but I do like to, when people come over and they need to use the restroom, I'll say, well, this is the Elton's John, so. Anyway.
I love it. That's where I was going with it. I thought that was funny. Dang it, you got me on it.
Yeah.
I had a friend that had the same name growing up, and we used to always do that. But Mark, I got beat at my own game. I'm done. I'm all washed up. I better hang up my hat.
Well, the joy of third-party verifiers and modelers, Dave, is they already know what we're going to do before we do it.
That's right.
Okay, let's bring in Joe, Inside Property Services,
Kanapaki. Hey, what's happening, Joe?
Good morning. Good day. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Lindsay, thanks for the intro. And miss those long conversations after our Passive House meetups.
I know. Soon it will happen again soon. One of these days.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, Joe, thank you for being on the show again. We were having a wonderful chat before the show, and I have to tell you, you've been on the show a few other times. One, you just got a great personality. Two, it seems like you run with the right crowd, so I'm kind of liking you for that, for sure. And three, you're doing things for the right reasons, and I think it's exciting to finally have you on like a full show all about Insight Property Services and talk about what you're doing. And let's see if we can spread Insight Property Services state to state, coast to coast here, so the word can spread.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, that's it.
I love the background today, Joe, right? The giant inside house. And, what does an inside house require? It requires people. It requires people that are trained to go in there and discover, right?
Ooh,
brilliant.
Boy.
Love that. Infrared inspections, home inspections. And then another part that we didn't even touch on is Joe has trained a lot of professionals to be, BPI certified, right? There's different certifications under the umbrella.
There's a number of BPI certifications. And we very early on in my building consulting career had the opportunity to apply for a training grant. And so for the first one, we were just party planners. Get the venue, get the people, get the trainers, get everybody together. And soon after that, shifted into doing the trainings directly. And that's worked out great. It's funny because people would say, like, why are you out there training your competitors? I was like, there's 3.5 million homes in the Chicagoland area. I'm not getting all of them.
And even if you could, what would you do? You just let people down and they, right?
Most of and they're not my competitors. Most of the trainees were contractors. I need, those are the guys that actually get up in there and do the repairs and the fixes and all that stuff. So I wasn't, training my competitors. I was training my referral sources. The people that I refer out, to the homeowners to get the work done, the people that refer us back to do the figuring out of the complicated ones. Basic homes, the guys could go out there and do their own evaluations. But anytime there was, something, out of the ordinary, they just simply said, hey, give the guys at Insight a call. You've got something a little atypical. They're good at figuring, we're good at fixing. So that's the team that we built,
So when you were saying that, Joe, Dave, you haven't met this person, but Lindsay and Joe knows him. His name is Ron Cowgill. And whenever someone refers someone or talks about a competitor, he always would ring a bell, right? The ding, right? Classic radio maneuver. And so Joe's like the ultimate bell ringer, right? He's like, oh, no, this is who you should talk to over here. This is who you should talk to over there. Like it's when you're so entrenched in making a transformation in the building stock for the people, you become a concierge, right? And because that you could only hold two guns, right? The holster is only so big. So the rest of it is ding, 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 ding. Love it. So I wish we had a bell audio, Joe, for every time you hit the bell.
I don't know how much name dropping I do. I suppose it does happen a little bit, but
Yeah, it does.
it's not, I'm not
name
trying to be
dropping's all right.
gratuitous about it. Just, people need hookups. They need the referral to the next person that can help them, and I mean, we had, in fact, we were able to refer Lindsay and Eco Achievers on a job that came to us. It was like a code. They just needed something for permitting, and so we did some basic energy modeling, and then they said, oh, we need to go full LEED silver on this project. So, hey, do you guys do that? We could, but I'd rather just work with, Eco Achievers. They've been there, done that. And so now, we were able to create a little bit of a partnership on some multifamily projects that are coming along. So it's great to have the network of folks, right? I mean, like you said, you can only carry so many guns in the holsters, man.
Speaking of the tools of the trade, do each of you have the same manometers and same blower doors, or do you have competing brands?
I think we had the same brand stuff, but I don't know. I've not gone through her stock of tools. So.
No. I feel like I was brought up on TEC, even though we used some RetroTech in my BPI trainings. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I was brought up on TEC, and we actually just got the new DG1000 manometer, which is super cool and has like all these different capabilities. Plug into the Energy Conservatory or
the DG1000.
Dun, dun. Yeah,
it's basically a handheld computer with a manometer strap to or a dual channel manometer strap to it.
Totally,
so
totally.
It's pretty slick.
This is how you know you're a building science geek, Dave. Right? So we've all sat there. The original TEC that Lindsay used, and maybe even Joe, was Tim Hepner's, right? And then later on, we were able to loop that through a laptop, and then like our mind was blown. Like, what? You can actually, and now here we are, the DG1000, and Energy Conservatory is coming up as a presenter, as is RetroTech very soon. So they won't be on the same show, but
they deserve their own slots. They deserve their own slots.
For a moment there, Mark, I almost thought we were on the after hours of BS and beer when Joe said I have not reached into her toolbox or whatever it was. I was like, all right, now let's get on with this show. We're talking about blower door tests.
Because you have the same tools.
I just had to go there. I'm in one of those moods. I got a good night's sleep last night, so what the heck? We're going to roll with it.
Hey, it's Friday, Dave. If you're making a Bloody Mary, let's have 4.
That's it. For sure. Hey, the comments are already lighting up, so we're going to come to everybody in the comments. But first, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you are not following Lindsay and Joe, you're wrong. Tell them, Mark, you're wrong. Get on and follow them, help support them, spread the word, share their profile, share their businesses, and let's all connect.
You have a chance to not be wrong, right? Right now, you could find them on LinkedIn. You could find them. I believe you all have a YouTube channel as well, right? And I know Joe has an Instagram channel because I stalk it.
Hey, Mark, you gave me a great idea. We can start having confessions with Mark and Dave.
Confessions?
Right? Yeah, because you're wrong. You haven't been liking and sharing and following everybody, so you can come on and tell us your sins, and we'll set you straight with the right people, the right places, the right network.
Is that when I say, I'm sorry, my son, you have not tested your building correctly? You have too many air leaks. Go forth and use caulking.
That's right.
And it's not enough to just pray for absolution. You actually have to take action.
That's right.
Good point, Joe.
Ooh, that's a T-shirt right there.
They say, Jesus hermano mío es verbo, no sustantivo, right? And that means action, right?
All of that.
All right, listen. Joe, we got to hop into this, man. So here it is, dude. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or Mrs. Willie, that's right, Mark's mother, will call your mom. And if your mom doesn't answer, call your wife. And if your wife doesn't answer, we'll go down the line of people and we'll bring them on the show, and they're going to tell us all about you. And I'm sure that would be embarrassing. So let's not go there.
There's a lot
You
of
got 2 minutes.
Conopackies out there. We could get a hold
Yeah.
of all. of them.
It'll take you a while.
Hop into it, Joe. Looking, the floor is yours.
So I earned an engineering degree from U of I, but after that, kind of vagabonded for a while. Did some fishing in Alaska. Went into the Marines until I had a case of heat stroke. Came back to the family business, which is owning, managing properties. Did that for quite a few years with and for family and for some other folks. Got into home inspections, to help out my college buddies as they were buying houses, and they just wanted me to translate to them from their home inspector what was going on. And I figure if I can translate, I can do the inspections. So went through home inspector training. Felt it was good. I learned a lot of stuff, but there was more that I wanted to learn that went beyond what a pre-purchase home inspector gets trained to do. And that was primarily building diagnostics, the building science end of things. I wanted to know why stuff was happening, not just that something was wrong. I wanted to understand why those things were happening. So got into BPI certification, got ResNet certified, started doing BPI trainings, and realized before long I was a building consultant. So we can answer questions for folks, whether they're buying the house, selling the house, building the house new, or trying to make sense of the house that they've got. And after going through all that training and buying all the equipment, you kind of have to figure out a way to pay all that stuff off. And it turns out that, like I said, a lot of people have questions even after the home inspection. So I don't like, if I tell people I'm a home inspector, then they just kind of go, okay, I'm not buying a house. I don't need to know what you do besides that. But like I said, people have questions about homes outside of the purchase process. And when you have big, expensive, homes, or even small homes, I mean, it can get complicated, and it's great to have somebody who is knowledgeable and unbiased to help you understand what's going on in the house and to get you on track as far as what's the logical, cost-effective path towards resolution and improvement in a house. So that's it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for your service. I put it down there. We should do some push-ups, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, no, I fell short of accepting a commission. So the Marine OCS is basically a 70-day job interview, and when you hit 108.2, they invite you to step aside.
Yeah,
like, we're gonna go play in the desert, man. You better do something else. So,
but the fact of the matter is you signed on the dotted line, you gave it your all, and a lot of people don't take that chance to do that at all. So that's how I look at that, and not everybody can be in the service. And I can tell you now, it's a lot of people want to be there, but health reasons, things happen. But that's my opinion on that anyhow. So I appreciate you nonetheless.
Excellent. Thanks, man.
All right, Mark. Where do we want to start today's journey? We got some good comments in the house. Greg Ugaldi's joining us from Twitch. We got the good doctor in the house. We got George. We got so many of them out there. But you know what I think we have to do first? I think we got to give them a little building science first. Okay. So where do we want to start with the building science today?
My favorite part, right, is it starts typically with a phone call, right? You get an inquiry, and then the technician arrives, right? The technician in this case is Joe. Let's use a name, Joe, and they arrive with a repertoire of tools and a repertoire of experience, because we use our eyes to go through what the building and the environment is succeeding on and what they're failing on, right? There's different levels of that. And then there's the unseen, right? Maybe it has to do with a combusted amount of gas that's not venting. Well, there's equipment for that. So it starts with the phone call to the professional, and then the professional needs to be on the site. I know there are virtual inspections, but we're not handling that world today. So Joe, walk us through. You pulled into the driveway. The truck is parked. The gear is unloaded, and you walk on a property. Give us an evaluation procedure.
Well, I want to take one step back. Generally the calls that we're getting are primarily, I would say the number one call is comfort issues.
Yep.
Then there's moisture problems. Then probably air quality, followed by impending upgrades. Right, my furnace is going to go. We've been kind of putting off, insulating the attic, maybe windows, so they know they've got a whole bunch of stuff and they want to get some guidance from there. And unfortunately, maybe last is generally I want to reduce my energy usage or minimize my carbon footprint. We do get those calls, where that is the exclusive goal of them.
Wow.
Of the homeowner, but more often than not, it's performance issues, and that's why we started marketing our services as home performance testing rather than an energy audit, because most homeowners' needs, desires, go beyond the energy usage. I mean, don't get me wrong, their homes end up being more energy efficient when we're done, but that's not the itch that they're trying to scratch. That's not the pain that they're trying to resolve. It's generally comfort and efficiency and performance issues, like I was saying.
Go ahead, Joe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and then once we get to the house, then it continues with an interview from the homeowner, because while we know how houses work, the house is effectively the patient. So it's like interviewing a mom about her baby. It's she's the parent's familiar with the baby's symptoms. Baby can't verbalize it, and we know how the houses work, so we need them to share with us the experiences they've had. What's it do in the winter? How about the summertime? Do you guys feel drafts? Any odors? What pattern do you notice? Does anybody have headaches in the house? And people ask me, well, why are you asking me about headaches? I don't know, just answer the question. Do you get headaches? You're like, yes. When? In the evenings and weekends. When are you home? In the evenings and weekends. You're like, oh, do you think my house is giving me headaches? I'm like, I don't know. The pattern kind of holds. Let's investigate a little further. So you start to ask all these questions that may seem, non sequiturs to each other, but again, we're only going to be there for 3 to 4 hours or something like that, and it's enough time for us to get some building metrics on how the building is performing, but I need the homeowner to share with us their experience in that home over the course of months and years that I can't discern that with just a couple hour visit. Right. So that gives us kind of a broader idea. I tell people, I need you to lay out the puzzle pieces. I'll figure out how it all comes together, because they try to explain, like, okay, well, this is because of that. I'm like, hold on, just tell me the symptom. Don't speculate to what you think the reason is for. I just need to know the symptom, when you experience it, and what else is going on at that time, any correlations or, that kind of stuff. And let me figure out. I don't need you to kind of, to bias me, just let me know all those things that you experience that I won't experience in these next couple hours, and right. We help to put all those puzzle pieces together. And sometimes, the connections we make are even surprising to me, things that weren't expected. What comes to mind was there a client that was, called about a hot second floor in the summertime, right? Not unusual. Well, is it not enough furnace? Is it poor duct distribution? Is it a poor building enclosure that's, leaky and poorly insulated? And he was balking a little bit about the expense of our investigation, because, his answer was like, well, you're not going to fix anything. Like, well, you're going to be spending thousands of dollars on whatever fix you do. We're charging you say 10% of that to get you on track, to make sure that the thousands you spend are on the right stuff in the right order, right? I mean, it's pretty easy to overspend, a couple $100 on any given contractor, right? Even when they're giving you the best advice that they have, but if they're looking at it from their narrow perspective, and quite honestly, they're not telling a homeowner if they should be the first person in or the third person in, right? So just calling the right contractors to do the right work, but you call them in the wrong order, you're going to incur time and hundreds or if not thousands of dollars of unnecessary expense because somebody's got to undo the work that somebody else did in front of them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway,
That's
getting
brilliant, though, right? The handyman's called by the homeowner. He writes the ticket. The ticket gets signed. The work gets done, right? And what you're saying is there's 3 to 4 steps sequencing before that, but you didn't know it, right? That's why you called the experts, right? You have to first discover what the problem is. You start fixing problems, you don't know what they all are. So you're creating a trail, right?
Potentially, and the whole point of of the home performance evaluation is to make the home improvement process more efficient, right? Make the entire process more efficient, not just the house, but let's make sure we're calling in again the right folks to do the right work in the right order. And so I laid that out to the homeowner, and he was a little bit weary of it. And at the time I said, let's make a deal. And I'm like, if you don't think that you got, the service, we'll give you, value from our service, I'll give you X amount off. And so as we're going through doing the evaluation, we're doing combustion safety testing and pressure testing of all the rooms. And, we're figuring out exactly what's going on with his poor conditioning of the second floor. And in that process, we realized there is a giant hole in the return ducts in the basement. The basement door is almost always closed. That return duct is pulling air, trying to communicate with the supplies upstairs, can't get to it because the door is always closed. It's causing the water heater to spill exhaust. And I said, hey, we kind of have figured out why you're having such issues. You don't have any return capacity upstairs. You've got this persistent negative pressure in the basement. It's causing your water heater to spill exhaust into the house, and then his mother, goes, is that why I might be getting a runny nose when I knit? And I'm like, where's your knitting chair? And she points to her knitting chair, which is right in the living room, right above where the water heater sits. So the exhaust gases from the water heater are spilling into the home because of the gaps in the return ducts. That's permeating through the floor, and it's irritating her respiratory system, giving her runny noses and whatnot. She's popping, her allergy pills because she thinks she's having allergic reactions to her allergies. And she's just trying to stifle the symptoms from combustion gases enveloping her as all this stuff is turning on simultaneously.
Grandma was knitting an American flag, and she turned out with a tie-dye blanket, right? There's just too much gas.
Yeah, it unfortunately, it wasn't even, she didn't even give her a high. It just made her feel miserable. And the and right there, the homeowner's like, he goes, you're good, man. He goes, I didn't even know my mom was having that problem, and the fact that you were able to communicate that and put those puzzle pieces together, he's like, that's gold. And I wasn't looking for it. Nobody had even said that, we get, grandma gets runny noses, as she sits in that chair. She didn't share it with anybody. She'd been keeping it to herself. But
that's an interesting invoice. That's an interesting invoice line item, Joe. Saved grandma's life.
Yeah.
My mother is now healthier and can knit without bloody noses. Yeah. What's the value on that?
Right. I mean, that's it, So, right there, he saw that service was invaluable because the HVAC contractor was going to find that, the insulating contractors weren't going to find it. The handyman's not going to figure that out. In fact, nobody even knew to look for a gap in the ductwork prior to us showing up, But I mean, there were some signs. There was dust around the door jambs. There was other little real subtle signals, that something was going on. But a lot of times you don't put it all together until you show up, you do the interview, and you do the whole suite of tests, to figure out what's all going on in this house. So
if anyone's out there with a bloody nose, call Insight Property Services. They will bring you Kleenex and a whole lot more.
So Joe, and also Lindsay as well, being in the same industry, let's talk about this for a minute. So we're talking about existing homes. People have to come in, take a look at what's going on. Like, how often do you go into an existing home and you find issues like this? Like, how often is it? Or is this just 1 out of every 10? Because there's a lot of people out there that suffer from allergies, that suffer from headaches, that suffer from bloody noses, How often do you go in and actually find a health issue that's causing these symptoms for people? Because I think a lot of people will be surprised by the answer.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, I was going to say for us, this is a two-part question, but one, not as much anymore because we often refer all of our existing audit work over to Joe. But when
Ding!
ding, there's Joe.
Joe at Insight Property Services.
Right. At your service. So, but when we were doing it, I mean, it happens all the time. These homes and the home that I'm in right now, I mean, everything was built more so off of a rule of thumb, and there were quality tradesmen and women that were doing the work, but it was more of a one size fits all, and they're working on different principles from different times. So now when Joe's talking about the connectivity of everything and how one system affects another, just like your body and all this kind of stuff. And really how key our work is to health. And when we're talking to colleagues, when we're talking to clients, that health component is really, really important because we are in our homes so often that we really need to make sure we're on top of this. And you might not realize, as Joe mentioned, how much your home is affecting your health. And by doing some of the things that he or we recommend, you could really see marked improvement. So I would say that it happens a lot. Even in new homes,
it happens. It happens a lot more than people presume it does.
Yeah.
And in our experience, I would say it's maybe where there's a significant issue, it's probably 10% of the houses, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. And when you're doing combustion safety testing on all of them, you're like, nine times I do this test, I get nothing. But the 10th time, we're finding significant issues, and you never know when that 10th time is going to come around. So you have to test all the houses. And sometimes the issue is, natural gas leaks, just from the distribution system, the pipes, there's just leaks in the house. And there are individuals that will pick up those low level leaks. I mean, you won't smell gas in the house, but somebody in that house will have the canary disposition. There's at one end, the canaries, and the other end.
I hope not the canary disposition.
Yeah. So you have the billy goats that don't care about anything.
Birds on the show now.
Fine, I'll have, I don't care if there's radon, they're like, they don't give a crap, and then you have the canaries that are like, do you smell that? Do you smell, like, that was like a week ago. Like, I mean, they, and, but the people with those more sensitive, more sensitive systems, they can pick up on very low levels of particulate and gases and whatnot. And they'll be irritated. But they'll attribute it to a familiar cause. So they'll say, "Oh, my mold allergies are kicking in." I'm like, "It's February," or my hay fever allergies are kicking in February. I'm like, "Yeah, what hay fever do you have in February?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I never even thought of that." It's like, so sometimes asking people the right questions really is illustrative for them as well as us, because they just they never even stop to ask themselves, what pattern of headaches do I have? Or is, why are my hay fever allergies kicking in February? That doesn't make sense to me, and so we will find air quality issues in homes. And it's going to be more prevalent because generally our trades are used to, leaky, drafty houses. And when we put in combustion appliances that were designed for leaky, drafty homes, those appliances are not going to work properly when you either put them in a tight house or you make the house around them tight. And so that's why we do the combustion safety testing. We are changing the building enclosure, and so all of these natural draft appliances that were their drafty house appliances, and now we're making a tight house around it. A natural draft fireplace is it's a 14th century technology made for a drafty box of a house. You can have an open hearth fireplace, but you better make the house drafty when you use it. Open the window, so sometimes it's as simple as that. Just, I need to make my house temporarily drafty so this fireplace can work, and then when it's done, I can close my window and I have a tight, efficient house again. Right. And so it's, there's a myriad of situations that we come across when we go into people's homes, but and that airflow component is what ties so many of these systems together. That ties the water heater that the plumber installed. It ties the HVAC system that the HVAC contractor installed, the air seal and building enclosure that the exteriors contractor, the framing contractor, and the insulation contractor all came together to play with. And then you've got attic ventilation. There's a whole other series of, of airflow dynamics that happens up in attics. And so you start to see, airflow in a house could be impacted by 6 or 7 different trades. So, who's coming together, or, who's looking at that house and looking across all those trades to figure out who needs to do what first, second, and third, to the home. And when I learned about this stuff, I realized there is nobody. The HVAC contractors aren't doing combustion safety testing. If you call a plumber about a water heater that's spilling, all he's going to do is look at the installation instructions, see that they match what the manufacturer said to do, and he's going to say everything's fine. No, everything's not fine. It is installed according to manufacturer's instructions, but for the fact that it's inside a house that's so button tight that the furnace or the air handler is playing tug of war. Maybe the bath fans, maybe it's the range hood, but
right.
The manufacturer of that water heater is not saying anything about the tightness of the house that appliance was installed in.
I like to start, Dave, when you're in that mechanical room, right? You have the furnace, the ventilation equipment, and if there's not a plug on the duct or a piece of tape covering it, that means no one's ever gone in, drilled a hole, and tested it. If that's never happened, well, you should probably do it. And then if you do have a gas combustion, water heater, if you're feeling air come towards you versus air being sucked out, call someone.
Just look at the top of the water heater. If it looks like things are melting or corroded or scorched,
right,
that's exhaust gases. And you don't need all you got to do is look at it.
They used to say when you do a blower door test, Dave, you put your keys on top of the water heater. Well, if your key ring is melting, you also need to address that. Look at them laugh, right?
I try not to leave my keys on top of the water heater anymore.
Yeah. Unless it's an all-electric water heater, right? So
then I don't have to turn it off, Mark. I don't have to turn it off. It's electric.
Less water, brother. All right, comments, Dave?
Yeah, I'm thinking we get to some comments and some thoughts, and when we come back, what I'd like to talk about, Lindsay and Joe, is how about somebody buying a home? How do they learn about this stuff prior to buying a home? Nobody wants to move into a home that's going to make their kids sick. Nobody wants to move into a home that's going to make the parents sick. Is there some things that we can do to negate the odds of that happen when we move in? And on top of that, Joe, I'm just curious, when you're doing a home inspection for a new buyer, and we'll answer this after we do comments, do they allow you to drill holes in their ductwork when you're just doing an inspection before somebody owns it? I don't know. That just kind of popped to mind. But let's first go to comments and questions. So as always, we have the good hello, Dr. Reynolds in the house, and she has some comments and questions down below. We got George Ryman, who's happy about the Phoenix Suns. George, I don't even know what they did. Did they win?
I guess it's hot in Phoenix, maybe on the basketball court too.
That's right.
I guess it's basketball season.
We got good old G-Pod in the house, the good Dr. Andrew Seeley. He's not a doctor, but in my mind, he's one smart cookie. Howdy, folks. Another amazing BS Friday. It's wet here in the Texas Hill Country. Man, he's been getting a ton of rain lately. I hope maybe you need to be building Noah's Ark. Maybe that's...
Yeah, so Joe and Lindsay, Andrew is building an off-grid dwelling, and he's building it with mostly off-site manufactured products, but the assembly of the unit is being done by battery-powered tools that are charged by solar panels on site. So Dave went and visited him down in Texas, and I think it's rained 5 out of the last 8 weeks in Texas. Yeah. I heard it's rained so much that Matt Reisinger is opening a canoe company. So
that's right. There you go.
He's building arcs now.
He is. Hey, listen, that's one guy that has the skill and the knowledge. So I guess if somebody had to build something for you, he'd be a good one to go to, especially if Mr. Basic's designing it. Right? Could you imagine that arc? That'd be a good arc.
It would have
All
a
right.
big red line going around it. We would know.
Yeah, right. That's it. And the front
This
of
is
it would
my
be the
water
big red
barrier.
marker.
Right.
Love it. All right, all the way from the UK, we have good evening, Dave and Mark Lindsay from England in the house.
Great Britain. Hey, Andrew, Joe's with us too. You got a problem with Joe, Andrew?
Oh, look at that. Oh, you know what? I bet he wrote that before we brought Joe on.
Probably.
Just to give, be fair to Andrew there. Andrew loves everybody from what I'm seeing. I'm sure it's in there. He's saying hello to the good doctor and everybody else.
Yep, Andrew's great. Thank you for being here, brother.
Dr. Reynolds has a question. Where can I locate some of your trainings?
That's really interesting, Dr. Rebecca, because so Joe and Lindsay, she's in the Chicagoland area, and Joe's over there by the Napervilles, and insightpropertyservices.com, right, Joe?
Yeah, or insightpsinc.com. You can reach out to us directly regarding trainings. Because of COVID, a lot of those in-person trainings pretty much shriveled up. So we are doing some trainings. They've been lately for basically commissioned by individuals and companies. We're doing in fact, I've got another inspection colleague of mine who wants me to do a combustion safety testing class just for his guys. We've done that for remodeling contractors, where we talked about air sealing and insulating for, and how it affects remodeling jobs. When, you're not always getting into every part of the house. So what can their question was, what can we do to do our job better, even though we're not messing with the entire home? And so, I can't think of a scenario where if you're a builder or a contractor where it wouldn't be beneficial in some regard to talk to or have, a home inspector or building consultant come and talk to your guys, because all we do is look at homes and find the deficiencies. I mean, it's kind of silly. I get to go there, criticize the house and leave. But I get to do
you recommend ways to fix it.
I do. We do give that. We don't just leave them with nothing. I don't just give them here's all the ways you're deficient. See you later. No, we do give them some guidance.
Here's a pen.
But we're, whereas a contractor might go through a few dozen homes a year, we're going through a couple hundred homes a year. Each one of our guys, so you start to see a lot of what's out there, and you see what works and what doesn't. And so, somebody told me once when I was younger, learn from the mistakes of others because you won't live long enough to make them all yourself. Right. And if I'm going to get into something, or it's beneficial to talk to somebody with experience whenever you're getting into something new, or you think you might have gotten a little too stagnant in your own practices. Right. When somebody says, I've been doing this for 30 years, you go, great. Yeah. Have you changed it in the last 30 years? Or are you doing it the same way today as you did 30 years ago? Because if you're doing it the same way, you're probably behind. You're probably missing something, because there's been huge advancements in technologies and practices, in testing. So if you're not changing, you're falling behind. And who do you talk to? How about the people that are going around finding deficiencies in systems that either you or colleagues of yours have been leaving behind unwittingly? Same thing with new home builders. We've done evaluations on homes that are a year or two old. Yep. Well, if the house was perfect, why am I in there 2 years later? I mean, sometimes it's the homeowner not understanding how to operate this house that they have, but more often than not, there's some deficiency that happened during construction. But the presumption is it's a brand new house, so the building inspector caught it all, or the builder built it perfectly. And as much as they try and profess to build a perfect house, nobody's perfect. Things happen. Things slide past people. Not by any, it's not like they're bad people. Sometimes you just, something got past somebody. There's a subcontractor that dropped the ball on something, so we want to be out there, doing quality assurance on some of these projects. So,
some of these homeowners, and it's happened to me over the years of building, where they come, 5-6 years later, they say, I'm getting water in my roof. And I come out and I see the gutter has trees growing out of it. And they've never cleaned their gutters, right? I mean, these are just simple things that maintenance that can cause problems for sure. All right, listen, we are into this for 53 minutes. We got to get through some comments and questions here. We got some more. Andrew Wilkinson asked, please explain the process behind infrared inspections. That's a great question for those who don't know this. And that's probably 90% of the people out there, except for those that when we talk amongst ourselves. But that's not who we're trying to educate here.
Excellent. So infrared is, we're using a camera to visualize heat energy off of surfaces. Generally, you need a temperature difference between outside and inside to do that. Or if you're looking for moisture issues, that moisture has to be actively evaporating. When it's actively evaporating, then you have evaporative cooling. That'll cool the surface that's wet, and you'll be able to visualize it that way. But I've been in wet basements that are 90% relative humidity, and you can't see the water puddles. I mean, you can see them with your eyes, but the infrared camera is blind to it. Right. When I've got some inspector colleagues that will do infrared inspections when they on a home inspection, but really all you're going to see is where warm air is entering the house in the summer, or where cold air is entering the house in winter. And in the wintertime, the cold drafts happen at the bottom, but where the warm air is escaping up at the upper part of the house, the camera's not going to see that. Right. Now, when we bring out the blower door on a home performance test, now everything is leaking into the house. Every gap and hole is leaking air into the house simultaneously. So I can find all of those pathways and determine where the house is leaking. And I know that once the fan turns off, warm air is going to rise and go out these cracks. Cool air is going to come in these other cracks. In the summertime, that whole pattern is going to flip around and go the other way. So the blower door allows us to find all of those leaks, irrespective of current, airflow patterns, and not just tell us how leaky the house is, but the infrared helps us figure out where those leaks are occurring, and that's huge. But again, we need a temperature difference. So on a 70-degree day, your infrared's blind. Right. So on those days, we have to get out there at the crack of dawn while it's still cool from the night, or we have to wait until the afternoon when the sun has warmed everything up. We need that 10-degree temperature difference for building leakage. And for moisture, well, one, it needs to be wet, so you can't find water leaks when it hasn't rained in 3 weeks. And even after the building gets wet, it has to be actively drying for that evaporative cooling to be visible by the infrared camera. So, if for all those folks that have an infrared camera, you got to get some thermography training to figure out to make sure that you're interpreting those images, because infrared cameras don't tell you anything. They suggest, the images suggest. You have to interpret that signal to say what's happening behind the walls. All you're seeing is surface temperature. From that, you're trying to translate that in with your knowledge of what happens behind the walls to what you're actually seeing. So it's and it is like Scott says, it's a snapshot at one point in time. It's that day under those conditions. So you need to know what you're seeing to be able to translate it appropriately. So it can mislead you. So
great. Awesome. All right.
I guess I would also say, though, that's a really critical tool when we do our blower door testing. Yes. It is super, super important, because as Mark was mentioning earlier, some of the things that you're just seeing via your eyesight, this you can visually see. You can see the air coming in. It's a different color, which then you can also use your smoke tool or something else. So it's a really critical piece in the building science and building performance inspection process.
Yeah, so we're looking at we use thermal imaging, we use the red blower door, and we use a little bit of smoke to help us visually see it or visually show our customers, or just to walk around windows to see if something's blowing. It's an amazing thing. But I do not recommend that you walk around with open flames in your house trying to find your leaks. Nope. Just that's our disclaimer on the show here. If you do have any problems with that, just call Mark Willie and he'll take care of it.
Yeah, I'll be right over.
You're right over.
You had a quick comment from Tiffany McCall there, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it right now. Yeah, so we had Tiffany in the house. Tiffany's a great supporter. Thank you for the great info and a bit of entertainment this afternoon, Friday afternoon.
The other part, Joe, the good doctor was asking about trainings. Do you still do the DET trainings for BPI?
So the DET verifier, DET is duct and envelope tightness, by the way.
Thank you.
And there is a state certification for this is just code compliance, total building leakage, total duct leakage. There's not a whole lot of diagnostic investigation. It is just kind of a tightness test on a new construction home or new construction ductwork. We do those one-day trainings. There's a BPI equivalent to that called the IDL, infiltration and duct leakage verifier, I believe, IDL verifier. And that tends to be a little bit more of a longer form class because it also includes a leakage to outside test, which is a little bit trickier. You're using the blower door and the duct blower against each other to kind of neutralize inside leaks, so you can only measure outside leaks. So there's a narrower range of individuals that need that level of training. And in Illinois, since it's total duct leakage, or total building leakage, the DET verifier is the more popular of the two because it's easier for the technician level guys to kind of wrap their head around that in a day because they're learning about it and they're being tested on it by the end of the day. So it's a fairly accelerated training, and so but that was a response to Illinois adopting the energy codes every 3 years, and they wanted to make sure that there was enough technicians out there to test the house once it's as it's being built to make sure that it's going to satisfy the maximum leakage allowances in Illinois.
Absolutely, thank you for that, Greg Ugaldi in the house from Twitch, immediate past chair of the NAHB, and still making a trip around the world. Always coming to us where the young folks are. Dave and Mark, great shows with Joe, Lindsay, and Elton's John. He's been here a while. Then, if he heard that,
yeah, I love that. Thanks for being here, Greg.
Yeah, always appreciate your support and everything that you do. All right, moving on down the line here. But it looks like the good doctor and others are having a lot of back and forth. She asked, "Do you have a scale of performance?" Let me do a couple things here. There's another one after that. So the good doctor asked, do you have a scale of performance? And then Andrew Wilkinson says, do you provide EPC energy performance certification? So I think maybe those two things tie together, or maybe I'm wrong. You tell me.
We used to do a lot more quantification of when we evaluated people's homes, and we found we were doing a whole lot of math and calculating that most people didn't appreciate. I mean, not that they didn't want us to do it, but they're like, okay, great, numbers. And what I realized was that, again, if you listen to people, you realize what their pain point is. And they're not saying, give me a quantitative analysis of my energy loss. They're saying, my son's room is unbearably warm. Why is it happening? And how do we get it fixed? What is a logical, cost-effective way of resolving those issues? And we realized, that we don't have to do a whole lot of calculating for that. And most people weren't, interested in, putting a certificate or a scale to their house. They just wanted some, issues resolved. There are still some folks that, want like a home energy score, those kind of things, but they're few and far between. Ultimately, as a business owner, you start to go, well, I'm not going to do work that's not being appreciated or compensated. And I can give people that information with, back of the envelope type calculations or evaluations that get them on track, that get them, with the right, contractors doing the right stuff in the right order to resolve those problems. And once the kids, bedroom is as cool as the rest of the house, done. They're done. And to do some of those quantifications, you need a lot of data. What are the window specs? How's the wall assembled? When it was first constructed, putting numbers to all that stuff, it takes time and energy. And it wasn't germane to giving them or being able to give them an effective course of action to resolve the issues. So we do a lot more qualitative evaluation. There are metrics that we take in doing our evaluations, and those are reported, but we're not putting together the couple hundred pieces of information that you would need to do, say, an energy modeling or something like that on a house.
Yeah, so Dave, there's all third-party certifications. ResNet has the home energy rating, the HERS report, and then I don't know who has the HES, the home energy.
That's Department of Energy.
DOE.
Oh yeah,
DOE.
those guys are out there too, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the FIAS one, and the PHI one. They're all just different choices. So they're all out there, but you have to find the modeler and the rater and the certifier, right? And inspector. There's a lot of people involved in this.
Yeah.
So let's we're at an hour and 5 minutes. Lindsay and Joe, we want to give everybody what they came here for. So let's get back into the home inspections. We'll wrap up in about 15 minutes. We'll get back to some more comments and questions. The good doctor is inviting you guys to talk at school, so we'll put that up here in a moment, which I think is cool. So let's kind of snap through this next section, and let's go back to, we talked about existing homes, people living in existing homes. Let's talk about homes that are existing maybe for somebody else, but I'm moving into it, so it's new to me, and I want to hire Joe. And when Joe shows up at the front door, I want the seller to be quivering in their shoes because I hired Insight Property Services, Joe kind of packy, and they sit there and say, Joe, I'll just give you $1,000, go away. But I won't let that happen because Joe's a man of integrity. Tell me, how do I hire you to go in there and do what I need you to do and find these things out? And do you talk to the existing homeowners to find out if they have headaches?
Often the selling homeowner is not there, so that we can have kind of candid conversations with the buyers and the buyers team. Every once in a while, the seller is there. I do try to engage them and kind of keep it friendly and non-contentious, because otherwise, they're making, they're trying to excuse everything that, you're pointing out, and, trying to convince you, why it's okay for it to be in that situation. So generally that can be a little bit of a challenge. And I try to at least foster, if they're going to be there, either we don't have a whole lot of interaction with them, or the answers are kept very simple and factual. Like, hey, when was this done? How long ago did you guys replace that? Have you had somebody looking at, dealing with this problem over here? You just kind of want to get the facts of it to see, how engaged the current homeowner is and dealing with issues, even if they're aware of some stuff. And that's often what I have to explain to the buyers is, sometimes there's stuff that's wrong with the house and because it was neglected, sometimes neglected willfully, sometimes neglected, just out of, sheer ignorance, lack of knowledge. Just they didn't know, right? Some, I have plenty of homeowners that are like, man, last time anybody went up in that attic was my buyer's inspector when I bought the house 7 years ago. Nobody's been up there since. So how would they know if mold was developing, because nobody's been up there? So so generally, as we're going through that house, you're looking at every system in the home: roofing, exteriors, interiors, garage, heating, plumbing, electrical, insulation, ventilation, appliances, and you have to do all of that stuff in, I don't know, about 2 hours, maybe 3. So it's a lot of stuff to look at. And generally I want the seller to let me know what they're most concerned about, so we can, make sure we're paying good mind to that. I encourage them to let me, bring stuff to our attention. But I also say, if you want me to do a thorough job in a short period of time, you kind of have to let me go. Just let me do my thing, without a whole lot of input or redirection, because again, it's a 2-hour data gathering, process. So you want me to tell you everything about this house, and you're giving me 2 to 3 hours to figure it all out. Okay, great. Then I probably don't need you redirecting me every 7 minutes. And I will mention things to people, and they'll ask me so what does that mean related to this? I'm like, I don't know. That's just a puzzle piece. I don't know how they fit together yet. You know, you gotta let me continue on to you know. But the reason you'll bring stuff up, you go, hey, you got pests and mice in the attic, and there's some people that'll just go, you know what, you can stop the inspection right now. We're not buying it. You know, there's people that will just be a hard basement seepage, hard stop. We're going to another house. I had that in my last house. Don't want to deal with it. I don't even care if they're going to give me, some consideration in the sale price. If certain issues pop up, certain people will just pull the ripcord and they're out. So we'll share things like that with people because no point in going any further if there's a deal breaker in there.
Right.
And
it's kind of like wallpaper and carpeting, right? You find that in a house, just run away.
Oh yeah, right. Wallpaper.
Yeah, no, those are aesthetic
wallpaper
things, man. We're talking about serious stuff. But it is, it takes a lot, and the challenge in existing homes, you were alluding to it later, is that you're limited to how invasive you can be. Right. So we're looking at surfaces of things where, there's a few covers of certain, things that we can take off, like the furnace cover, or the electrical panel, something like that. But we're not pulling outlets out of the wall. You're not really digging into a whole lot of stuff. You might move a handful of ceiling tiles to look at a few areas of a basement ceiling, but you're not moving every ceiling tile that's down there.
Because that's when you find the mice, right? You move the ceiling tile.
Yeah. By the way, don't ever look up when you're moving a ceiling tile. You'll the only thing worse is getting dust in your eyes when that dust was created by a mouse.
Those chocolate chips they leave behind, right? They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're a little nutty, but you want to.
There's not. I mean, older houses. I can't imagine there's too many older houses out there that have not seen a mouse in their day, especially depending where you live. It's just they're not built as tight, and it's just part of having an older house, I think. So just managing them is the thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we do is we have to put that into perspective for folks. They're like, oh, the foundation's cracked. I'm like, yeah, but it's been cracked for 60 years. And there's no signs of water and there's no further shifting. So it's got a 60-year track record of being just fine with a crack, Right. And so, again, a big part of the value that we bring is putting things in perspective for the folks as they're buying these existing homes. And that's why that's what they're bringing us in for, is you got somebody who in a couple hours is going to try to figure out all of what's going on in this house and put it in the perspective compared to other homes of similar vintage, and saying, hey, yeah, the attic is under insulated by today's standards, but by 1960s standards, it's been actually upgraded some. And so you're above average as far as attic insulation. There's still room for improvement, but and there's been mice up there, but hey, it's a 60-year-old house and it's not extensive. There's some attics we go up there and it looks like somebody went with a broomstick and poked holes all over the place for all the little mouse tunnels. Right. That you're the next guy that goes up there is going to show up with a vacuum to suck everything out and start from scratch. But these are all things that again, people are want to be aware of before they buy the place. Inspecting a home when it's raining or it's been wet is great, because now I can tell you about seepage. If it's been dry for 3 weeks, we're not going to be able to see roof leaks and basement seepage stuff unless there are obvious stains left behind and those kind of things. So it is a bit tricky because you're only seeing that house at one point in time.
Going in, obviously dandruff and mice droppings, or whatever Mark wants to call them there, candies left everywhere. How do you test the ductwork? I mean, I don't know, can you go in and drill a hole in the ductwork without asking permission to drill a hole in somebody's ductwork?
I have. So if the homeowner's there, I will let them know. If the homeowner's not, then I kind of do it anyway.
Right.
And really, so so we're looking at the furnace AC forced air system. The 2 holes that we typically drill, sometimes 3, is for return air temperature, supply air temperature, and if it's a natural draft appliance with a metal hood, we'll poke a hole in there to measure CO and just check the combustion process. Water heaters, usually there's gaps at the top, and you can kind of get your combustion analyzer in there without poking any holes. But as far as the two thermometer holes, one in the return tells me the temperature they are coming in. The one in the supply tells me the temperature they are going out. The fact that I have to drill holes tells me that no HVAC technician who preceded me in that existing home had ever drilled holes to measure the temperature on an appliance that makes air warmer or colder. So whenever a homeowner gets, a bee in their bonnet about me poking holes, I just go, you know what? I was looking for the hole that, Bob's HVAC should have, and I don't see Bob's holes. So I tell you what, I'm going to poke some holes. I'm going to measure the temperature. I'm going to tape my holes up when I'm done. No big deal. And I'm like, oh, by the way, there's 17 other holes in the ductwork here and 12 other holes in the ductwork there. So I'm not making
a hole there, a hole everywhere, a hole.
Yeah. So, at least I'm going to tape my holes up, and then you can ask Bob, how come he never made thermometer holes in the ductwork? But it's a simple thing, but we found a lot of systems, an AC system is supposed to absorb 14 to 21 degrees of heat between return and supply. The furnace, if you look at the spec plate, it'll say the heat rise should be 30 to 60 degrees or 40 to 70 degrees. Well, if it's less than that or more than that, we know we've got a problem by the manufacturer's, word. So we can say, hey, it is not working according to manufacturer specification. We need to have an HVAC technician come in there, not to inspect it, but to evaluate the problem and resolve the problem. So, every once in a while, the seller will be like, oh, the inspector's just trying to kick the can down the road and, have a qualified person look at it. I go, no, I know that there is a problem, but the technician needs to evaluate it further to discern what the source of the problem is, and resolve that. It's not a guess. There is a problem. It's over temp, it's under temp, it's hitting high limit, it's undercooling, it's overheating, whatever the case might be. And I have temperature readings to verify that or to validate that.
There's a video out there, and I believe it was a cartoon type video. Dave, you wouldn't have seen it, but Lindsay or Joe, you might have seen it because you're making that thing like, don't be like Bob, don't be like Bob. Wasn't the video actually done by ICC or IECC or someone in the Chicagoland area where they said, this house is done this way, this house is done this way, don't be like Bob? Do you guys remember that?
I vaguely recall it. We're probably going back to like 2014 or something like that. Yeah, but it was like, don't be a pig. Like, don't be an energy pig or something like that.
There was billboards. There was billboards, and there was commercials behind it. It was absolutely brilliant, and short-lived campaign. A lot of grant
money ran out, and they stopped.
Yeah. Grant money for billboards, not caulk guns, right?
Can't afford to put it on the internet anymore. Apparently.
All right, folks, let's move back to some comments and questions. You ready for some more comments and questions? We got just a few minutes left in our show, so let's roll through it and give people what they came for. Dr. Reynolds is inviting you to demonstrate at their school to the kids what you do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Lindsay? You ready to go educate the younger generation?
Let's do it.
The good doctor.
All types of toys to bring.
Yeah. Manometer time.
Yep.
Lindsay's tool bag. We're back to it again. She's got all kinds of stuff she's going to bring. And I think, you know what? Like doing the blower door test, letting kids play with the smoke gun and test the windows in the classroom, bringing the infrared gun, it's that hands-on that they'll see it.
Totally.
And then they're going to say, well, can we try this at our house and take it home, right? So I think that's a great idea. I think it'd be a lot of fun for you guys to go there. Oh, no. We're not going on the Sega world.
Just to remember, when you're air sealing, bring your squeegee.
Bring your squeegee. And we love our friends at Sega.
I just want to follow up on Dr. Reynolds' question about our work not being quantifiable. It is
the good doctor. The good doctor is her nickname on the show.
Yes. My apologies. It is quantifiable. It's just when in speaking with the majority of homeowners, they're not really interested in all of those specific details that we work with. So translating that into something that's more qualitative resonates more, as opposed to giving them the actual numbers. But there's numbers pretty much behind everything.
That needs to be said a lot of times. So, good doctor, one of the things all of us in building science do is we try to change the language so that it is understandable. You don't go to an airline and have them start talking about all the engineering and all the controls in the cockpit and everything it takes to build an airplane. What you do is you show a picture of Florida and you say, do you want to take a trip? So the same thing in building science. The engineers and the certifiers do all the work behind the scenes, but then we try to talk like normal folks and say, oh, it's moist here, right? We don't have to turn around and show our moisture meter. That goes in our report.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, go ahead, Lindsay. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that's why Joe was mentioning at the beginning that he doesn't call it an energy audit anymore. He calls it a comfort audit, because that's
performance audit.
Comfort performance audit by Joe.
Home performance audit.
Property services. Ding. So, yep.
Dr. Reynolds, I'd love to know what grades you teach. I don't know. Did she ever say, is it college? Is it university, or is it, I don't know. Put it in the comments. I think it'd be a lot of fun, maybe when school's back in session, that some of Dr. Reynolds' students pop in to ask some questions. You know, they can come in at the end of the show. If Dr. Reynolds, you'd be interested in that, I think we'd always be willing to throw a student in here and there just to ask questions at, certain parts of the show. What do you think, Mark? Is that a good idea?
I think Stephen Basic has Big Red, and I think Lindsay has the Big Red Door, and I think Joe has Big Green, right? And you take these out, and you absolutely deliver this content to schools. It doesn't matter if you're in grade school, high school, trade school, or university. All these things are applicable, right? So the kids doing Minecraft, they can be working on BIM down the road, right? There's always an adventure in front of you if you're willing to learn and take that experience on from other professionals. You teach college.
Train teachers who teach grade school. Cool. Hey, that'd be fun. Let's get a couple. Let's get some younger ones on. Let's get them to ask questions. I think we'd be very surprised at the questions that the young people ask that the rest of us are scared to ask.
There is 3 or 4 questions we would love your students to answer, right? So not your students, but your students, and that is what does a healthy home look like to you? And have them draw a picture, right?
Yeah.
What does a natural and eco-friendly home look to you? And then what does an unhealthy home look to you? And the kids, when they draw that, they naturally have better answers than most of us, because they look at the basic principles. And the reality of this is the basic principles are right in front of our very eyes. We're just used to looking at the aesthetics.
I like this, Mark. I like this. Dr. Reynolds and anybody else out there, have your students draw what these look like. Put them in a Google Drive, and we can share some of these on our show throughout the year. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I think the kids would like to see their names pop up or their projects pop up. But
maybe we need a Google Drive, Dave, a Google Drive that says my house is better than your house.
We do. We could do that, Mark.
I don't know.
All right.
Spitballing. We're spitballing.
So when we started the show,
we're all
Joe,
over the place today.
Well, but we're coming back to it. Joe said in the beginning, when he gets a phone call, it's about comfort, moisture, air quality, insulation, the windows or attic, the energy efficiency, the home performance, and the carbon footprint. Those are the ones that Joe listed there. So Dr. Reynolds and everyone else, when you're thinking about those words, the experts tell you what the building is experiencing for all of those. And they give that to you by their facial expressions. They give that to you by the time it takes them to analyze your house. And they give that to you in the condensed report, right? There's a summary and then there's extrapolated versions. And it's all there for you to take a deep dive or to say, I don't understand it, tell me, right? That's what it's there for.
Perfect.
I love that smile, Joe. You're like, yeah. I just got a 30-page report. What does it mean, right? Go to the summary page.
That's a good place to start.
So we got 7 minutes left. So let's get through some other quick questions here, Dr. Reynolds. If any of the students would like to do that, or any of your teachers, students would like to do that, just send us a link on LinkedIn and send it to me, and I'll have it loaded up for one of the shows moving forward. And maybe we can bring you on to maybe we can pick a winner or something, but we'll talk about that. All right, let's get some more things here. Scott Fardman, what would it take to allow for more thorough inspections during the purchase of a home? Real estate agents already blow a head gasket when they see your tools. That's very true, because they don't want to lose a deal because you're too good at what you do.
Yeah, that's pretty common. I actually had a new home builder got mad at me because I measured the bath fans in the house. And is like, what inspector does that? I said, well, the guy you're talking to, man. And I said, it's a new house. So, I mean, there is a code requirement that they move 50 CFM. Well, my guys measured it. Like, but his guys say that 70 CFM fans move 70 and 80s move 80 and 100 CFM fan moves 100. I'm like, yeah, out of the box. But as soon as you hook up ductwork to it, it's something less.
Is there a 90, right? Is there a 90 on it? Is it taped? Like our CFM requirement, Dave, for the bathrooms is substantial. Right. Yeah, that's why you're doing the test, Joe.
It's not that there is a 50 CFM fan required. It's that the fan is required to move 50 CFM. How do you know? I have to measure it, And so I measured and I told the guy, I said, I'm measuring these things. I teach people how to measure these things. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. I could be wrong. So next time your guys are out there and they're measuring the fans like they say they are, I'm 20 minutes away. Have them give me a call and they can give me an education, right? But until they can show me how I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm right. And if your guys aren't telling you that your fans are coming up deficient and you're mad at me for delivering the bad news, well, then maybe you should be talking to the guys that are doing performance testing on your new homes and putting the screws to them, saying, hey, why are you guys pencil whipping this stuff? If we're coming up short, let me know so we can push it down to our subs so that they can, run the ductwork better or use shorter lengths or whatever. Let's identify the problem and resolve it. We're putting in good equipment, but the hookup is somehow leading to a deficient process. But I've, showing up with some of those pieces of equipment has hooked us with realtors. So, hey, this guy's bringing in stuff that I don't see any other inspector bring in. That's the guy that's the team that I want coming in to advise my client before they buy a house. Those are, in my book, those are high quality, realtors. If your realtor says, I got an inspector, he's real cheap and real fast, that means you're probably not going to get a thorough inspection. You're probably not going to know as much about the house that you're buying as you might if you had a more, a thorough inspection by somebody who's got a little bit of wiggle room regarding time to get through the place. Because again, there's only a couple hundred things to look at. You might want to give the guy, more than 2 hours, on a good size house.
Dave, I did a duct testing and help out one time to Eco Achievers, who was a commercial apartment building.
Sure.
And the furnace ventilation system had the supply going to the return and the return going to the supply. And I'm sitting there and I was just there to help and hold this and ladder that and do this. And the mechanical contractor came over and he wanted to talk to me, and I'm like, so I pointed to Lindsay, and the first word out of her mouth is, "Who did the manual J on this?" And his answer was, "Manual what?
Manual who?"
Yeah,
like asking a dog a question.
Yeah.
It wasn't
there's
manual. It was manual.
Yeah, there's no Emmanuel in this company, right? So that was a thing. I know we're at the end of the hour, and we gotta.
3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say we'd love to have you guys back. We'd love our audience to reach out to Insight Property Services, talk to Joe. Also, next week, Green Building United, New Gravity Accelerator kickoff party. This is the second time they were with Dave Cooper Live and Mark on BS Friday. They're coming back. It's a virtual conference again. That is next week. So just want everyone to know and join us.
No. So with that said, I got one, and I need a quick answer on it. Are schools or homes the only thing you inspect, or you do commercial buildings and schools as well?
We're doing small scale commercial. We're now with Eco Achievers, we're doing some multifamily new construction. But yeah, single family homes, multifamily duplexes, 4 units, that range of properties, everything into small scale commercial.
Right. And Andrew Wilkinson did have another question. I'm going to summarize it for you real quick. Once the inspection process is done, if I read it correctly, what does it take to bring a new home back up to healthy levels? And I guess that's a pretty broad open question, depending on what the problem is, right?
The building science answer is it depends.
Existing homes are operating under performance, bringing them back to new codes. Is this a costly exercise? It could be, depending on what it is, right?
It depends on how long ago it was built.
Yep.
A newer home, not so much. Not terribly expensive, but if you're looking at 25 years or more, and you've windows and equipment and all that.
For sure. All right, everybody, we're at the top of the hour here. Join us Monday, because this is somebody you do not want to miss. Paul Doherty, president and CEO at the Digi Group. He advises governments on smart cities. They build smart cities in the middle of nowhere just to test smart cities. And I'm not talking $1 million project. I'm talking $1 billion projects. These are the real players in the market that have the ability to make change happen with governments around the world. They're working with blockchain. They're working with new technology. They're doing amazing things. So Paul Doherty is a world-renowned expert on this conversation. And on top of that, he's just a really cool dude. You're going to enjoy talking to him. He's one of these guys that always seems to have a smart answer. Drives me crazy. I can't stand these overachievers, but you got to surround yourself with smarter people than us. Isn't that right, Mark?
Well, I think you may have found something here. I went to high school with Paul Doherty, Dave.
Did you really?
Nope.
I love it. Mark's got me. We're on the hempitexture, and we are going to have Maddie Mead on, CEO and founder, along with Mandy Kerr, who is the head of the Global Hemp Association, on this Wednesday. We're taking a deeper dive into hemp products. What's going on with them? Are they viable? Will they make a mark in our world? Can we get them to be cost affordable to process the hemp into the products that we need? So you definitely do not want to miss that show whatsoever. And as Mark said, coming up next BS Friday, Green Building United New Gravity Accelerator kickoff party. And the good doctor, if you are still with us, tune in on the 19th. We have the professors in the house. We have Eric Holt, University of Denver, George Berghorn from Michigan State University, and Molly Smith at Fresno State, as well as Ben Bigelow from Oklahoma University. We are not just getting any professors. We are getting the biggest, the baddest, the most well-known schools in this country to come on Dave Cooper's show. And we're going to talk about what they're doing. And guess what? For all you suppliers out there, all you manufacturers out there, all you building science people, this is a direct link to all of their students who are coming out of school looking for work. Use it as an opportunity not only to learn about what they teach in their schools, but use it as an opportunity to share what you do, because maybe they would like to share your knowledge with their students, and all of those students coming out are going to need work when it's all said and done. So how's that for a lineup, Mark?
I would say when George comes on, Dave, Lindsay would say, can you ask him to go green? And if his answer is, what's that, Linz?
Go white.
If his answer
white.
is not go white, then kick him off the show because he's wrong.
He's wrong. Oh no. Where'd you go to school, Lindsay? Yeah, this is a college banter thing here.
That would be Michigan State.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, Lindsay, maybe we'll have to have you pop in. We can throw a little of that college rivalry down on the show. All right, everybody. Mark, as always, wonderful. Joe, wonderful. Lindsay, thank you so much. In fact, let me just put your names all back up there so everybody can see it one more time. Hey, can I get a big thumbs up from everybody out there? Come on, guys. Everybody, thumbs up. Hey, it was an excellent show today. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. We'll see you tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. Pacific. Man, I didn't think that one through. 9 a.m. Eastern. Coffee with Dave. Lindsay, Joe, don't go anywhere. We'll come back to you after the outro. But everybody else, have a wonderful, blessed weekend. Enjoy your family. Have some fun. And we'll see you Saturday morning and Monday for our next show. See you guys.